If you've been paying any attention to the tech landscape this year, you already know the era of the one-size-fits-all AI. Yeah, it's officially dead. We are deep into 2026 now, and the entire landscape has completely shifted. You're no longer just picking a fun little chatbot to play with, you're choosing a highly specialized engine to drive your daily workflows. So today, we're bringing you a comprehensive explainer on the absolute heavyweights of the year, ChatGPT versus Claude. We're going to break down the data, the features, and the real-world tests to show you exactly how to optimize your setup.
To instantly set the stakes here, I want you to hear this specific micro-anecdote from an extensive one-month test conducted by Emergent. They basically fed a slow, buggy data processing script into both models. ChatGPT jumped right in and gave them the fastest fix that worked so the team could just move on. Claude, on the other hand, well, it paused, analyzed the entire underlying structure, and completely rewrote the code from scratch, throwing in error handling and edge cases. It produced something you could literally hand straight to a senior engineer. This isn't just a basic argument about which model is smarter. It's actually the core narrative of depth versus breadth.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start with the 2026 AI showdown, then move to deep dives versus speed, artifacts versus canvas, the confidentiality battle, and wrap up with the ultimate 2026 workflow.
Section 1. The 2026 AI Showdown.
Right off the bat, I want to relieve a bit of anxiety you might be feeling. There's honestly no wrong choice here, provided you actually know what you're trying to accomplish. We've got to stop framing these models as identical competitors in some sort of race and start viewing them as highly specialized tools in a workbench. Think of Claude as your deep thinking artisan. It's built for deliberate depth, absolute craftsmanship, safety, and producing work that requires very, very little human editing. It genuinely reads like a human wrote it. ChatGPT, meanwhile, is your speedy, multimodal Swiss Army knife. It is incredibly broad, ridiculously fast, and can generate images, search the live web, and execute Python code all in the exact same breath. Basically, Claude is your dedicated specialist, and ChatGPT is your relentless generalist.
Section 2. Deep dives versus speed. So how does this underlying philosophy of depth versus speed actually impact the way these AIs read, analyze, and process the files you're giving them every single day? Well, this brilliantly illustrates the dramatic gap in how these models handle context. We threw Gemini AI Pro in here just to give you a sense of scale with its massive 2 million token window. But if we focus on our main competitors, Claude Pro offers a 1 million token context window. To put that into perspective, that's roughly 750 pages of text. ChatGPT Plus, meanwhile, sits at 128,000 tokens, which is about 100 pages. Why does this matter to you? Well, if you need to drop a 150-page legal contract into an AI and ask it complex, cross-referencing questions, Claude is going to remember the very first page by the time it reads the last. ChatGPT is going to start dropping that earlier context completely. So let's map the exact AI to the specific job you need to get done. We can use a simple rule of 3 here: text, code, and data. If you're dealing with massive PDFs, over 100 pages, or native Google Docs, Gemini is a strong outlier. But for normal PDFs, full books, and high-level prose summaries, Claude is absolutely the victor. It digests heavy text flawlessly. However, if you're looking at raw data, like massive CSV files and heavy data analysis, ChatGPT is totally unmatched because it uses an advanced data analysis feature to actually write and execute Python code in the background to solve your math for you.
But ChatGPT has another massive advantage when it comes to speed and range, and that is a feature called deep research. It's an autonomous feature that scours the live web, pulling from a ton of different sources to build a perfectly cited summary for you. This perfectly highlights ChatGPT's unique capability in handling real-time live web searches. Claude, on the flip side, takes a much more enclosed, deep thinking approach. It relies on its training data and the specific documents you hand it, rather than surfing the web for today's breaking headlines.
Section 3. Artifacts versus canvas. Now, we've talked a lot about how they think, but what about the UI showdown? Let's examine how you actually interact with the code and text these models generate. Now, what's really interesting here is that these user experiences are fundamentally different. Claude uses something called artifacts. When Claude builds you a tool, a dashboard, or a website, it creates this standalone object in a totally separate visual UI. It's interactive, it renders immediately, and it just feels like a finished product. ChatGPT, however, uses canvas or inline blocks, which makes it the absolute master of targeted, in-place prose edits. You can highlight a single paragraph or a specific line of code right in the chat thread and just tell it, hey, make this part shorter or fix this specific bug. So Claude wins for building visual interactives instantly, whereas ChatGPT is the master of granular surgical editing.
But wait, there is a catch. Instapods points out a really crucial limitation for both of these platforms. Whether you use Claude's artifacts or ChatGPT's Canvas, sharing your actual outputs has a ceiling. Neither tool provides a real URL on a custom domain out of the box. You're just getting a vendor-branded link, like a Claude.ai or ChatGPT.com URL. This means if you actually want to ship something you built to the public, there's a distinct gap. You're going to need external deployment tools to turn your AI creation into a live, custom domain website.
Section 4. The confidentiality battle.
Now we have to pivot to a vital 2026 concern for basically all business professionals. How do these models handle your regulated data and your corporate trade secrets? I want you to ask yourself this question right now. Who is reading your confidential prompts? Seriously, when you paste an unreleased financial report or a super sensitive legal brief into that little chat box, where does it actually go? This is arguably the most critical question for enterprise security today.
And the research from Sonomos provides us with some very clear, neutral data on this front. Claude offers a highly privacy-friendly posture straight out of the box. Customer prompts are excluded from training by default across all their tiers, yes, even the free consumer version. ChatGPT, however, it's privacy-friendly by configuration. For users on the free or plus tiers, your data is trained on by default unless you actively dig into your settings and opt out.
But, and this is a really big but, once we step up to the contracted enterprise tiers, the playing field levels completely. Impartially speaking, at the enterprise level, both AIs become incredibly secure. Both of them offer zero data retention, or ZDR, meaning they don't store your data after generating a response. And both offer business associate agreements, or BAAs, for handling highly regulated things like healthcare data. This means the privacy bottleneck actually moves away from your vendor choice entirely, as long as you're on a business contract.
Section 5. The ultimate 2026 workflow.
Let's move to the good stuff and see how this builds into the functional workflow that high-performing, regulated firms are actually adopting this year to build a truly bulletproof system. This recommended three-step pattern beats using either AI alone, primarily because it neutralizes those privacy risks from the jump. Step 1. Pick a primary sanctioned AI to serve as your team's baseline. Step 2. Recognize that your workforce is absolutely going to want both, so allow both via contracted enterprise tiers to ensure data isn't being trained on. And Step 3. Deploy a local first redaction layer, something like lock, which masks sensitive entities like names, IDs, or code secrets locally on your device before the prompt ever even hits the cloud. With this exact setup, the AI never sees the underlying sensitive data in the first place.
And remember, whether you're utilizing Claude Pro or ChatGPT Plus as an individual, unlocking the true, unthrottled potential of these flagship models is going to require a $20 monthly subscription. Because the price point is identical, cost is no longer the deciding factor here. The most crucial buying metric is purely your workflow fit. Are you writing deep, thoughtful code in prose, or are you rapidly searching the web and throwing together images?
So, what does this all mean for you? It brings us to this provocative final thought. Are you spending your time trying to choose the quote-unquote best AI, or are you building the best workflow? The technology in 2026 is, frankly, phenomenal across the board. But the real winners are the ones who stop arguing about which single model is superior and start orchestrating them side by side to get incredible work done safely and efficiently. Thank you so much for joining this explainer. I really hope this helps you optimize your tech stack today.